show is brought to you by Health Plans, your Medicare plans, insurance solutions, and resource agency. We have a variety of plans and products that fit your needs, benefit requirements, and budget, with many low or no-cost premium plans, zero co-pays, and much more. Our licensed benefits advisor's priority is your health and well-being. Call us today and book your no-obligation consultation. 1-929-367-5269.
Folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, iHealth Radio with your host, Hurricane H. New day, new show, new topic, new guest. And today we're going to talk about holistic natural health all the way with our lead practitioner from Holistic Natural Health from Australia. This is going to be very interesting. So I have Magic Barclay, and she's going to talk to us about her story. And it is an interesting story. And not only that, she's also a fellow podcaster, and she does this daily. And she's also going to share with us some of the good stuff about weight management and wealth and health and just the holistic approach. Now, this is probably not a new thing for a lot of folks that probably watching and listening, but there's always a good spin, a new spin from a different angle, and we're always learning. So without any further ado, Magic, welcome.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
It's a pleasure. And, first things first, I try to do that whole introduction, but I want you to give us a little bit of a breakdown of your story, because there is some stuff that I read in your bio about how it all started. And, it was kind of a little, eye-opening stuff. So why don't you share with us that?
Yeah, look, for me, it started early on. So traumatic childhood, divorced parents, never having a sense of self, rolling into teenage years, eating disorder, ill health, then rolling into a marriage. Eating disorder only really stopped because I got pregnant, and losing myself in a marriage. And all this kind of snowballed, years and years and years snowballed into such ill health that I was given 12 months to live if I didn't make some changes. So I really started looking at what that meant. And the medical model had let me down consistently. And so I started looking at natural ways to heal my body, to heal my soul, and to make my life mean something and feel something. Because, the only way I can explain my life was decades of feeling emptiness, nothingness. And I thought that was okay and that was normal. Maybe tomorrow, if such and such happens, I will feel such and such. And that's no way to live. It's like, today, this is how I feel and this is what's happening, and that's great. Mm-hmm. Or that needs improvement. But I was looking for the next tomorrow. And so when you get to a point where there may not be a next tomorrow, you really have to take stock of your life. And so that's exactly what I did. Put myself into a whole lot of natural therapies, really worked on self-development, really worked out who I was, what made me tick, what lit me up, what didn't light me up, all those sorts of things. And I was lucky enough to come across some teachings of some fabulous mentors. And now I'm the lead practitioner at Holistic Natural Health Australia. And we use all of those techniques, all of those practices, and we roll them all into one program with our clients. And it's not just with our clients. I do it with my family too, and with myself. So, we walk the walk, we talk the talk.
Oh, wow. That's so there's a lot there.
There's a lot there.
And so I want to just kind of just unzip all that and decompress it and break it down into pieces, right? So first things first, you said from the beginning, and the reason I want to highlight this specifically, because we have audiences watching and listening. Some could be younger folks, some people can be parents. I think it's important to realize what the impact of all that you had to go through when you were in the childhood, level, right? And that stuff got you to the position where your health was, pretty much critical. And then when you get to the point that you're told you might not have a lot of time, which is not something that anyone wants to hear, right? First of all, great to hear from you that you're here and you're doing a great job and you made
Here
a
I
big
am.
difference. So that's the first thing. But really for our, folks watching and listening, doesn't matter if you're, you probably have kids. If you don't, you probably think about having kids, whatever the case may be. It's one. Two, if you're a younger age and you're going through some phase, whatever that phase may be through your, parents and or family matters, whatever, it is important to just to take a breather and listen to this message here, because it can affect your life. And it did. And by the way, I'm sure your story is a story of many that have gone through this, and it's stress, and all the stuff that gets, and it could be multiple things. And some people take it to the extreme. Some people take it on themselves and it becomes a health issue. In your case, that's what happened. And then now you're fighting with your life, right? And your health. And it is difficult sometimes to come back from that. It's just not easy, putting weight or whatever, stress matter, or even deciding, some people, God forbid, they decide to have suicidal thoughts and everything. So it can be a real challenge in, whatever that background. So it is important that folks, let's make sure that we do the right thing with our families and our children and help them, have a better future and not impact them in a way. I get it. People have their own lives and their own problems and things happen, but let's not always be about us. At the same time, let's always think about what that future can be and what we are inflicting to others. Sometimes, whether we know it or not, sometimes we impact people. So I just wanted to.
And you know what? Something I want to jump in with here is I'm a child of the 70s and 80s. And when I was little in the 70s, something that was told to me quite often, I'd hurt myself, I'd start crying, or, something had happened, I'd have a fight with my big brother and I'd start crying. And something that was said nearly every single week was, stop crying or I'll give you something to cry about.
Oh, I heard that.
So what I want to say to the parents, to the young people is, it's okay to feel our feelings. If your child is crying, instead of telling them to shut up or stop crying, work out why and just listen to them and just say, you're crying. What's happened? What can I do as your parent to help you? Or sometimes they just want to cry. We all get like that as adults. It could be just driving down the street and you hear a song on the radio and all of a sudden you've got tears running down your face. You've got no idea why. Sometimes it's just an outlet of emotion. So let that happen and be supportive. As parents, that is our job. As young people, as teens, as young adults, it's okay to feel your feelings. You don't have to constantly and consistently cover them up. Just know that it's okay.
That's powerful. And, thank you for that, because it is, I think the whole idea of this is that we share, the experience and the value. And I think if we don't take a pause and highlight in this particular item, because that's where it starts, right? And then everything else is a snowball from there. It just gets,
yeah.
It's a lot of problems can happen. People sometimes, sometimes we blame crime, we blame a lot of things, in society. And then when you look at it from a psychiatry, level, you can think that, there's some stuff that started somewhere back in the days that, triggered all these things and these emotions that were suppressed. And then ultimately someone is taking it out on the world. And so we don't know what the outcome is, but I think we all have an opportunity to change that early on through our behavior and how we actually present it and how we work with our immediate, folks. So that was a big, piece of the discussion today. The other one is, you mentioned something about you were told that your health is at an end, right? And you got to do something about it. But then you also said that traditional medicine or Western medicine didn't do it, right? So I want to also pause on that one, because this is not the first time I hear that. And, there's always this big debate, regular medicine, holistic, and, unorthodox kind of stuff, like, Eastern medicine and things like that. Now, we know Eastern medicine has been in existence for centuries and it's been effective for the longest. And it in a way, it's the roots of today's medicine, but it's just different. And many people, sometimes they don't find the solution in the modern medicine, and they do find a healing process throughout other, stuff, whether it's, and we're going to talk deeper in that. So I think that's also another important, point to highlight today, is because just don't think that it's the end because you're told so. There's many, many other ways and many outs that you might have. There are doors like 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and you keep opening those doors and you'll find the door if you look, for it. But if you say, this is it, medicine is not going to help me, I can't do it, I'm doomed, then that can also be a problem. So let's just be clear that you have opportunities to do more and to look more, for more things and solutions are out there. I mean, we're talking right now from Australia. We talked about we're really talking future and present here. I think magic is in the future. I'm in the past. We communicate here, but the fact of the matter is, everywhere the globe is really a small village these days, and we can all communicate. There's resources everywhere, so don't limit yourself, no matter where you are in this world. And I know the show is broadcasting across the globe, literally. So anywhere you are, if you can't find a solution there's someone. And what's better today is that you don't even have to go physically to locations. A lot of virtual stuff, and you can order things and you can talk to experts all over. And that's in itself a whole new dynamic of health in a way, and wellness. So again, I wanted to just clarify that. But I have a question for you. Yep. So what happened? You went into the regular medicine, and it didn't work. Why didn't it work? I mean, were you under a particular protocol? What did the doctor say?
Okay, so for years I'd been dismissed by my general practitioner, told I was making things up, I was attention seeking, it means nothing. And I actually found a new doctor once I moved town after my divorce. And this guy listened to me and he said, you know what, all the things that you're reporting actually add up to a couple of conditions that I know about or that I've heard about. And so we started really exploring that through some testing and imaging, and he found that I had cancer. Amongst other things, I also had diabetes and a few other things going on. But he said, how long have you felt like this? And I said, at least for the last 10 years, I've been reporting it and being told, forget it, it's nothing. So,
I'm serious.
After several doctors that didn't do their job, I found one that did, straight out of college, young, enthusiastic. Here he was, hit the nail on the head. And so, yes, I did have surgery to remove the cancer. I had to at that point in time. But after that, he said, look, there's chemo and radiation that we need you to do. And I said, nope, not doing it. Give me a chance to fix this myself. And so that's when I started looking at things. And, before that, traditional Chinese medicine and herbal medicine and, natural medicine, I'd heard of it, but I dismissed it because I really came from that Western medicine model, basically. I was about to say something else and might get us wiped off here, but it's a model, and it's about consumerism, and it's about reductionism. It's like, let's treat this symptom in isolation. Let's reduce it to one symptom. Let's make you buy something and keep coming back. We're not treating the root cause. We're touching the symptoms. And that wasn't where it was at for me. I was like, I want to know what started this. I want to know what caused it. I want to know how to fix the cause so nothing like this happens again. And so with holistic natural health, that's exactly what we do. We use, natural medicine practices, we use functional medicine practices, we roll them all in together, and we look at the root cause. And so for me, that was my point of moving forward, of if I address the root cause and treat the body as a whole with holism, the opposite of reductionism, and I look at things that come from nature, so I don't necessarily have to buy them, right? I'm not necessarily a consumer, but I can grow them, or I can source them from someone that grows them, or I can buy a supplement that is naturally based and not synthetically based, causing more problems. So this is kind of where that change happened. And, I'm really glad to say 7 years down the track, I'm still here. And, I haven't quite got it all worked out. There's some issues that were left after surgery, but I'm addressing the root cause of those. And 7 years after, given 1 year left, I think that's pretty good odds.
Well, they are. And first of all, we're glad that you're here and that you're doing work and well, and doing the work, to be even better, and also sharing, the story. And there are three things that came up from the last, discussion, the last point here. One is I want to go back to, we talked about if you're doing a good job, whatever, listening and take care of people so they don't have something that can react to them and they can react to. On the flip side, I would say to the people, no matter what's going on in your life, always look out for yourself, because you do not want to be, the victim of whatever circumstances and then eventually hurt yourself because you buy into it. Now, I know it's a difficult, it's harder to, it's easier to say said than done, But the idea is just to be aware that, you know what, you always have to worry, but don't let things get to you. Help yourself, to be able to overcome things. And that should also be another pointer for all of us. Two is, you mentioned something about diabetes and cancer. Now, this is October. It is the Cancer Month, Awareness Month. And I have to say, those are two very difficult things. Combined is even worse. And first of all, again, hope for people. You're out there. This is a great opportunity to think that if, God forbid, you are afflicted with either one of those, know that there are solutions and you can do better. And there might be a way out. Again, seek the natural, seek out the other things. And I know you mentioned something about your provider that did not really take care of you, and years after years you could not see what the problem was. Eventually you found this particular doctor that actually discovered that you have something serious, which could have been probably prevented early on with your primary care doctor or whoever your internal medicine person was. And so that's the other thing. So again, folks, if you're listening, watching, let's take that. If you see something wrong with you, your body is communicating and telling you something is up. Your doctor is not sure. Well, if the doctor is not looking up for you, find another doctor. But don't wait too long. 10 years, it was a long time. But again, you were trusting the system. You were trusting, okay, I'm good. But your body is not telling you the same. And I've had people actually that we've had, even on the show, that had similar experiences where doctor says one thing, the body says another thing, and really listen to your body, because it will tell you if something's wrong. And sometimes they just don't do it. And the other thing that you mentioned that is powerful, we're not getting kicked off the air, but you're right. The system, and unfortunately, and by the way, it's not everybody, but there is a good understanding around the new healthcare world, is that it's not to cure 100%, is to, if somebody gets cured by default, it's all good. That's really, like, again, to calm the symptoms. Diabetes, there's no cure for it. It could probably be cured if you avoid a lot of things, but it's easier to maintain it because it's also maintenance drugs, and there's so much money to be made. And I always say this: when there's money to be made, sometimes the outcome is usually we have to sacrifice, right? And it's a sad statement, but that is a reality of where we live today in this world. So understanding that doesn't mean that medicine doesn't work. That it has its benefit to a degree, but to your point, some diseases, like you mentioned, chemo. I can tell you a lot of people there's mixed opinions about that, but a lot of people do not want to go into chemo because it has been in articles and discussions. And again, I'm not a clinician, but the fact of the matter, it's not unheard of that people that did not take chemo outlived the people that took chemo, because chemo does destroy every single organ in your body. It depends on your body. You might just basically not make it because of the chemo, not because of the cancer. You probably outlive the chemo with the cancer itself. But again, I'm not an expert. We will have actually a show that's coming up in December discussing a lot of cancer business, and it's really a specialized doctor that's going to talk in oncology that we're going to talk in deeper levels, and they're actually more of the mindset of healing and things as opposed to just medicine, but drugs and just calming the symptoms. But the fact is, to your point, that is a big deal, and you're right. You can take medicine to just keep you at bay and keep you looking good, feeling good, maybe down to one symptom, lessen the actual feelings or pain, whatever. But the root cause is the key, and you went to find the root cause. And I love what you said about you found holistic stuff and it's natural stuff, grown. Now people can say, well, where am I going to grow my stuff? I don't have a backyard. I don't have a farm. I live in the city. Those are all questions that come to mind. I can buy organic stuff. Is it really organic? Not organic? All these are all things that we can hear, around us. So what would you say to people that way? First of all, I just want to take a pause. I covered a lot of things, but I just wanted anything you want to interject for that, what I just mentioned about.
Well, just on the chemo, there's actually several articles have been published in medical journals stating that chemo actually spreads the cancer. So it spreads the cells because it destroys one area. It interrupts the cancer. So if we look at a cancer as a rubbish bin full of dead cells, that's usually what a cancer is. Okay, when that rubbish bin is ruptured or the lid is taken off, it's going to spread the rubbish. So this is coming out in medical journals now. I'm not totally against chemo. Don't get me wrong. If you, as the patient, feel that that's what you need to do, have at it, do it. But for me, when I was reading these articles, I was like, why would I do this? This is toxic. There's a lot of side effects, and it could spread my cancer. Not saying it will, but it could. So for me, I had to evaluate that and go, well, you know what? This looks like there's too many cons to the pros. So for me, that was my decision. So, I'd love to hear your upcoming guests explore that point. But to the listeners, the main thing is, whether you do natural medicine, functional medicine, Chinese medicine, traditional Western medicine, whatever it is, it's your choice. It's your body. And you have to be okay with it. If you want to take a whole lot of medications and treat the symptoms, have at it. But you've got to be okay with that decision. Okay, for me, I wasn't okay with that decision, or that option, so I moved to more natural things. And, it comes to even your testing. If you go and see your doctor or your practitioner or whoever, and they run some tests, ask for a copy of the tests. Walk away with them in your hand. Now, a lot of doctors will say, no, you don't need the copy of the tests. Guess what? That's about you. You have the right to it. It is your information. Be your own advocate. So no matter which part of the health arena that you want to dabble in, or that feels the right fit for you, ask for the information, because it's your information.
Well, thank you, and I love what you said about the choice. Again, like I said, we're not for or against, but the fact of the matter is there are been debates about chemo versus not chemo, and does it destroy? Yes, it does, and it's not even. I mean, they tell you in advance you're gonna have a lot of side effects, and there's no guarantee, and we all know that. But there have been cases where people did take it and they were able to kind of go through it and go through the motion and recover. But again, it depends on your body and your immune system and other, could have some back stuff that nobody knows about and it just backfires, right? But to your point, it is your choice. At the end of the day, whatever decision we make, we live by, right? And, that can be sometimes good, bad, and we make decisions. I mean, I had a question the other day, like, do I regret anything in life? I don't regret anything in life, but there are decisions that we made and the outcome couldn't have been different because at the time it looked and sounded right and we did it based on what we knew at the time. But as time progresses, like, I should have done it this way. You can't change the time, but you can move on going forward. Hopefully, you make the better decision. But it's never a bad decision because of the time you're making based on whatever circumstance information you have at hand. And I think sometimes that's important to realize that. So it's not bad, but do your due diligence, do more research, don't settle. And if that is the outcome you want, go for it. So I love what you said there, because again, we don't want to dismiss the idea that the medicine does work, and for many it works and some doesn't. And unfortunately, that goes both ways. But at the end of the day, we know one thing: natural will always be better. And I think that we all can agree on that. I mean, if we can eat healthy and natural produce and natural foods and everything, the world will be a much better place, right? But we don't have that. I mean, even in our diets and everything we do right these days, the weather, the pollution out there, the world is not, natural these days. It's harder, we're almost like so far away. I mean, there's so much stuff that we eat that is not even food. I mean, it's composite food, whatever you want to call it. It's manufactured food. And again, we're not putting down the manufacturer of food, what the industry is, but we're talking about 100 years ago, you walk into a supermarket, you don't have the variety that we have today. Today, we go into the supermarket, they are different. They all taste good. They all look good. They taste good, good flavors. There's plenty of stuff, but how bad are they overall? We don't know. Are they all good ingredients? Like someone said, if you can't understand the ingredients, maybe it's not good for you. If it says something more than carrots, well, what is that? If you can't pronounce it, that's a problem, right? So again, this is just an awareness and a discussion based on experience, and these are just things that I personally share based on different guests and different articles and things I read. But the bottom line, the decision is always going to be yours as audiences. And again, the best way is to do your research. Don't settle. Like we said, we have plenty of doors, and things happen. We have a guest with us today. You are, I'm glad that you're here. I'm happy that you're here. And you are a true hope for people because you've gone through this and your story is, again, story of many. So now you discovered this. You got into this whole holistic natural, right? Health business. But how did you stumble on it? Was there a specific, way you were able to, somebody guided you to it, or you just through the research? One, two is now you became part of it and involved in it, and you promoting the work and you doing the work. But it's how that changed your life. If you can bring us closer to that picture.
Okay, well, how I stumbled on it was, in all my research, I found some brilliant mentors from around the world. And what they were talking about was, systems, not symptoms. And that really resonated with me to getting to the root cause. If I treat the systems of my body well and get them to interact better, then the symptoms will go away. So, that was a big part of it. So that's how I stumbled across it. How I got into it, I met a fabulous group of people who believed the same thing. And, we teamed together and holistic natural health was created. So that's the next part. Just heading back to how do you grow medicine? You asked that just before and I didn't answer it. And that is, if you live in a city, if you have a balcony, you've got a space. I use permaculture here at home, and I've studied permaculture, and you don't need a garden to garden. As long as you've got some space for some pots, you can research how to grow things, what grows best in your area. You can even grow some things inside under lights with a hydroponic system. So there's always an opportunity to have a natural substance growing. So that's really important. And I guess the big thing for me when I joined the team at Holistic Natural Health Australia was they were talking my talk. They were like-minded people. And it was like, okay, this happened, let's move on. And we all have our own specialties and niches. Mm-hmm. So we gel and mesh in together really well. And you mentioned earlier about, you can access practitioners around the world. We are fully remote now. So we're fully online. We do a lot of Zoom overseas, phone calls here in Australia. And, that's really opened up what we do. We recently, well, not recently, but a year ago, closed our clinics and went fully online because you don't need to go to someone's office to have an appointment. Not in this day and age. Your practitioners are at hand no matter where you are in the world. I think that's really important that no one gets kind of left out or left behind.
Well, that's a big point. I mean, telehealth has been something that's been existing, but people didn't make use of it until the pandemic. And I think that reopened a whole new world. And frankly, it just opened up, for a lot of these businesses and practices to just kind of worldwide, access, as opposed to just limited to stuff. Now, of course, it did take away maybe from the local practitioners or maybe people that have an overhead, things like that. But a lot of doctors are also adjusting to that. And of course, depends on what's needed. You still need to go to some of these facilities. Nothing wrong with that. But I love what you said about, how you stumble into it and you learn and you're doing the work. But what I do want to go back to is the growing part of your own food, because I am in the metropolitan area here, and so I am on the suburb side, so I do have area that I can plant, and again, it depends on the weather. That some plants can thrive, some plants cannot. Are there any guidances that you guys have in terms of like what that would look like and which plants are better in what area? And again, we're talking different plants in general, but are we planting just medicinal plants? Are we just, like learning nutritional stuff? What are we doing?
Well, we encourage people to plant their own food. We encourage people to plant their own medicinal herbs for teas and things like that, and tinctures. You can really explore a whole lot. And what I love about permaculture is that you're using plants, you're growing them together as companion plants. So you're using them to sustain each other. And, some plants use different nutrients to others from your soil, whether it be a container or a garden bed in the yard. It really doesn't matter. And some repel pests. So you're protecting your plants with other plants. And you know what? This happens inside us too. So when we're talking, herbal medicines and natural medicines, we're looking at what repels pests. So if you're dealing with a candida issue, what is going to fix that yeast and fungus overload? If you're dealing with SIBO, an overgrowth of bacteria, what plants are going to heal that and fix that, put that back into a state where the bacteria are working for you, not against you. So the same thing, in our body and our garden. And so when we're looking at growing things, you want to look at what grows seasonally. You want to look at what grows in your climate. You want to really look at your climate zone. You want to look at what grows together well and what doesn't grow together well. And then that will transfer to your body, because guess what? You're in that season and you're in that climate zone and in that time zone. And sometimes you've got some things going on inside you that will work together or not.
Well, thank you for clarifying that. And it's important because I think that's a lot of people are going to be like, well, this may apply to you, but not to me. So what does that mean to me? But I love the idea that it is available to all of us. Doesn't matter where you are. You have to know what works for you in your particular zone, and you can do it. So now there is something that is always almost comes in a package, right? We talk about nutrition, but typically there is something about exercise. There's something about detoxification. I mean, these things, I always hear them go hand in hand. So we kind of talked about the research and nutritional stuff and building your own, garden with herbs and medicine and food. And I love that, because again, it is, as much as people think it's, difficult. You mentioned now we can talk about what that looks like in cost, because today's inflation, and everything, people may say like, I may not be able to afford to do this. And maybe you can guide us through some of that. But is there anything in your practice and what you promote that has to do with like a detoxification process of the body? And also, is there any type of recommended, I would say, movement or oneness, fitness action that is attached? Because some people, they because we can do all the good stuff with the food, but if we don't detoxify the body or we don't exercise enough, and again, exercise in general, not necessarily a particular form or the other. So what do you say to that?
Okay, so with detoxification, this is really important. A lot of, and you alluded to it before, a lot of testing can come up negative or normal, or, there's nothing in, your doctor will say, well, there's nothing wrong with your liver, or your liver tests are okay. Or maybe this is a little bit elevated, but it's nothing to worry about. And when we're looking at detoxification, we need to look at the liver. Now, there's actually a few phases in liver clearance. So you've got phases 1, 2, 2.5, and 3. And the mistake a lot of people make is they start at 1 and 2, which is putting nutrients in to fix imbalances. And it's giving the nutrients for the liver to start clearing or functioning properly. But if you haven't done phase 3, which is, emptying the pathways for elimination, you're not going to detox. So if you can't clear your bowels properly, then you're going to get a backup of toxicity. And it's actually given a term of autotoxicity. And, without getting too graphic, we've all had that moment on the toilet, right? We're doing a number 2 and you feel a bit nauseous. That's some of that toxins flushing back up. Okay. So imagine that happening all the time and you're trying to detox, but you haven't cleared the elimination pathway. That's an issue with toxicity. And that's why when we're talking about detoxification, we've got to look at the process. Have we cleared the exit pathway? And you mentioned, apart from detoxification, what was the other thing? I've lost my track.
Like exercise or like some
exercise,
sort of...
yeah. Well, this comes in detox as well. So if you imagine running on a treadmill or going for a run every day, but you've got sore knees and, you just don't feel like you're getting anywhere, maybe you run on the treadmill and nothing's changing, you've got to look at what your body's saying. And your body's saying, this is a danger, this is a threat. And so what it's doing is it's creating an elevated cortisol level. It's creating a whole lot of chemicals within your body. And that links to detoxification, because now you've got to detox from those chemicals because you're running on a treadmill every day. Now, running on a treadmill is great for some people, but it's not great for people with certain immune types or certain conditions, or people with adrenal issues, so stress issues and adrenal gland issues. So we've really got to look at the type of exercise, because you don't want your body to decide it's a threat. So, when I'm talking to my clients about exercise, I often suggest weight resistance, even body weight exercises. And the reason is it does not cause a threat response in the body. So it's not causing more toxicity that now you need to detox from. It's really important to know what's going to work well for you, and your practitioner should be able to tell you that.
Well, I love what you said there. That's important. And so thank you for clarifying the part about, especially the detoxification, because people don't understand that. Well, again, I'm not generalizing, but most of us may not know how to really detoxify our body. And it's a lot of folks are like new to this concept. Like, really have to cleanse my body. Yeah, you do have to cleanse your body, and there's ways to do it. And I appreciate what you talked, although, we didn't have to go graphic, because, we didn't really go that graphic, but sometimes this is, we're talking about health, and you need to be graphic in certain ways so people can picture what's going on. And you're right, if you're constipated, things are not happening, and your body's not flushing, that stuff is all there. I mean, it's not going anywhere, and it will actually get into your system, and it probably can cause a lot more problems. So it is important. And I think the health part about that, and if you're eating correctly and you have the right, I guess, herbal stuff and or just general nutrition that you get, and that can also help your natural movement, right? So it's important to actually, it's all about balance here. I mean, you have to have a real, balanced, concept between your nutrition, your detoxification levels, and as well as your movement. And if those things combine with everything else being equal, your system, your hormones and everything. And that's the other thing. I mean, I've had multiple shows recently about menopause, for example, for ladies, and that changes the whole dynamic for women. I mean, that's just in its own dilemma, right? And then you add all other problems that can just be more, detrimental. So understanding what's going on in your body at all times is important, and understanding the different things that you need to do to help your body be at optimum levels, that's also important. And I think again, I love the fact that there are resources such as yourself and the folks you work with across the globe, where people can really reach and get the actual information and the tools to be better. But that leads me to my next question is, how does your system work or your program work? Because I mean, ultimately, we want to help people understand. Well, now we got the problem, and but how do we resolve it, and how you can help them, get through that process and eventually get to that level where they're like, yeah, I'm good, I'm doing terrific, I'm healthy. How do we do that?
Okay, so look, it all starts with our intake form, which is 33 pages.
Oh my
God.
God.
There's a reason why it is, because we're looking at every system of the body, what it's telling us, even down to our neurotransmitters, so how they're functioning. And from that, we then do our root cause analysis call. Now, all of this is free to this point. So we get on to a Zoom or a phone call for an hour, and we go through that form, and we tell you what we're finding. So the root causes that are popping up from your reported history. Okay, and we look at all the previous tests that you might want to send us, and we go, yep, okay, that's why that didn't show up, or this is this. So we give you an idea of what needs to be treated at that point. Now, from there, we offer to work with you. And, we may just say, listen, here's some information. Thanks for contacting us. Here's someone else you need to work with. Or we may offer to work with you. And so what we have is our Holistic Approach Reset package. Now, in this package, your practitioner will either offer you 8, 12, or 25 sessions. And that depends on what they find in your intake. Right. So it's not a one size fits all thing. It's like, if it's more involved, it's obviously going to need more sessions. And if it's not, it's going to need less, because we're being ethical and sustainable at all points. Now, if you're in Australia, your practitioner will send you a welcome pack of a few supplements to get you started. They may send you a link to, some essential oils that they want you to take or diffuse or put on topically. Mm-hmm. And if you're overseas, what they'll do is they'll put you in touch with suppliers there. So you're not going to wait 2 months for something to clear customs to come to you. You're going to be able to get your hands on it in the next week. And that's really, really important, because whilst we're not relying on supplements, sometimes we do need a few to get you kick-started. Okay, you'll get the diets that we need you to go on, and, everyone kind of gasps when we say that. Diets are 2 weeks. They're not forever, because, again, it has to be ethical and sustainable, right? And so the diet that we most often send people is an anti-inflammatory diet, because whilst inflammation is a secondary condition, it is something that exacerbates discommunication between the systems of the body. So that's how we work with you. We roll into that all of our counselling techniques, our PNEI of trauma techniques. We give you tips and ideas on how to reduce your toxicity. So we've had clients email us saying, I'm moving house. What sort of building materials am I looking for in my new home? What paint should I be painting with? If we know a less toxic way, we will tell you. Mm-hmm. So we try and address everything that is going on. And, we often recommend, particularly here in Australia, organic foods and the companies that they come from. And you mentioned earlier, organic. How do we know it's organic, or how do we know it's not? Surely it's better to give it a chance than something that is grown conventionally and grown with toxicity. So our practitioners are there to kind of guide you through each step. Most of the programs, you have 6 months to use all your sessions. So, you don't have to speak to us every week. Because, again, that could be causing stress. Oh, my God, I've got to talk to the practitioner and I haven't had time to do what he or she said. So we're going to give you some time to actually do those things. And that's how it works.
Well, I love it. I mean, it sounds like your system is open and it's thorough, and I love the idea of a full assessment. I mean, this is not like, 5 questions and, I think I know you, or, it's really robust, and it has a lot of different things that you're looking for to actually identify some of the areas of need, and then you kind of work towards them, which is super. Now so you go through that phase, it's all assessed, and now you have somebody, a practitioner, that's being assigned to you, and it's a full, few weeks of program. Now, these sessions are like one-on-one discussions, or there's practice on them? What does someone look for in those sessions?
So the sessions are one-on-one discussions. You'll be with your practitioner, and the next steps of your protocol will be discussed. So it's not like we're going to give you your whole protocol session 1, because you're just going to look at that and freak out. You're going to go, oh, my God, this is what I've got to do. No way, So we're going to give you the first couple of steps, and we're going to make it bite-sized so you can actually implement it step by step. And so you'll be talking to your practitioner. You get email support in between sessions, and your practitioner is there for you, and they keep notes on what's going on. And, because we're using natural substances, sometimes you're going to feel better straight away. Sometimes it's going to take a bit longer, and sometimes you might go backwards. And that's okay too, because that tells us something. So it's all about, looking at what all the whispers coming up are, and what are they saying.
Thank you. So one more thing. You mentioned something about supplements, and they'll receive a packet, for just to get them going for the initial. Now, is that part of the program? Is that included in the program, or is that something separate that people have to invest in addition?
No, that's included in the program. Because you know what? In the first 2 weeks, we don't want you running around trying to find supplements everywhere. And it's not about the supplements. They're there to help you. They're not there to fix you. That's your job.
I like it. Well, again, I mean, just to make sure that people are clear about that, because, like, oh, I have to buy something, this is part of the program, and it's going to get you into your stuff. Now, typically someone finishes the program. What are there things that they have to do beyond that point? I mean, because you can finish any program and you probably will relapse back to where you were if you're not maintaining, right? So what advice would you give to people beyond that?
Well, the thing about our programs are we're teaching you along the way why we're doing things. And so you leave us at the end of the program with obviously feeling better and, enjoying life a lot more, but with the knowledge that if something pops up again later, that you know what to do. So we're not making you reliant on our practitioners. We're saying, hey, we're going to teach you and explain to you why this is happening. And now it's up to you, because it's your body. You've got to live with it. You've got to live in it. It's, we can't just say, hey, do this because I said so. We're going to say, hey, we suggest that you do this, and this is why, and this is how it works. And now you've got science overload in your brain, but that's okay, because now you know.
And thank you for breaking that up, because that's a big deal. I mean, the idea is that you're teaching people how to operate on their own and become their own, I guess, captain of the ship, right? So once you teach them how to do it, I mean, it should be a cruise control beyond that. They know what to do, how to do it, and maintain it. And I think after a few months of work, I don't think they want to go back to whatever they were. And that's the bigger part of this, because when you feel good, you do not want to come back, and you want to just do more of that. And now you don't have to rely on someone, and you can continue doing the work yourself. Because sometimes the reason I'm asking that question is many businesses or whatever, they want you to come back. You mentioned something about medicine, right? You want to come back and buy, so I want to make sure that people clear that this is not about that. It's about you and your health, and you'll give them the tools, and then the rest is history. It's on them. Now, if they break down that chain and they just lose that, and they, I guess, they relapse back to whatever they want to do, that's on them. But you've given them the tools. They can't pretty much say that, well, I didn't know. They already, I think based on what you're saying, they will be part of that movement and that change every step of the way. So therefore, they're not going to be able to, I don't know how to do it any further. Before they finish, they'll be graduating, literally, right? I mean, I'm assuming that's kind of like you have a graduation, you did it, all right, now you're on your own. Right,
totally. But we also have a maintenance program. So for people that feel that, maybe they need a little bit more after their sessions, they can do a maintenance program with us, which, gives them a couple of calls a month, and they can schedule those calls and go, hey, you know what? I felt fantastic, but then this happened. What does that mean? What do I do about it? So, they're never just dropped and left by themselves. We're always there to help.
Well, so that's even better. I mean, not only you're the captain ship, but you have also backup, crew available at your own, fingertip, which is important to have. I mean, it's always good to know that you have someone, because it doesn't matter how good you are and where you are, you always want sometimes to just ask a question, and you have that ability and you can maintain that. So now how can people actually register for the program?
Okay, so everything is found at our website, which is www.holisticnaturalhealth.com.au, and that's holistic with a W. So there you can find our root cause analysis. You can book a session with that. Once we see that booking come up, you'll be sent your intake form, and then once we get that back, we do the session and you've gotten started. But you know what? That's not the only thing on that website. You'll also see our blogs. You'll see links to all of our socials, which are posted on quite regularly. You'll see a link to our podcast, A Magical Life, Health, Wealth, and Weight Loss. And you'll see some of what we do. So, on our website, we lay out, hey, this is how we're different. This is what we do with you, not for you, with you. That's really important. But you can book that root cause analysis on the website.
Perfect. And so I will have the actual link in the description of the show, so people can actually link to it directly. So anything else you want to add for our audiences today for a show, and any advice you want to leave them with today?
Look, health is an inside job. It's up to you. It's your body. It's not up to someone else to do it for you. So, whether you're looking at your physical health, your emotional health, your spiritual health, it's really up to you. You can look for sources and for practitioners and, whatever it is that, books or podcasts or whatever it is that's giving you information. But it's really up to you to apply it. And no one can do that except for you.
Yeah, that sums it up. I mean, you are the captain of the ship, as we said, right? It's up to you to make it happen or not. So thank you so much, for that advice, and thank you so much for the insights and the information today, because this is important, and hopefully people can benefit from today's show and link up to you guys, and definitely take advantage of it, and just feel better, be healthier, right? So that being said, so So Magic, I want to thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
And folks, I want to thank you for watching and listening today. And hopefully this was a very good show for you and a lot of information that's going to help you and benefit you. And so we'll be looking forward to the next show. New guest, new day, new show. Bye for now.